Kevin MacLeod, how you doing?
Doing well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate you taking the time out to talk with me.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to change your theme music for me.
Yes. I was thinking about this before I started getting set up. Every single project, I think this is because for this show, I composed all the music myself. Because I had originally done a remix of an Ariana Grande song. So when I started this show, I was like, shit, I need music. And then I was like, oh, I have something that I made. I'll throw that in. But up to this point, I don't know if there is a single project that I've done that wasn't just filled with Incompetech.com music.
Thank you so much.
I swear, I made.
Gotta be useful, yeah.
I used to make YouTube videos about vinyl records, and I used to use. It was the same. I can't remember. It was like underground hip hop or something was the title. I should have looked it up, but yeah, I've been on your stuff for a while. So thank you so much. When you got back to me and said you'd like to join me, I really appreciated it.
Yeah.
So where are you coming to us from right now?
I am currently in Tampa, Ybor City, Florida.
Oh,
outside of Tampa.
Is that where you live now?
Yes. Yeah.
How long have you been there?
Oh, since this year.
Gotcha. Because you've been in New York for a while, right?
I was in New York for a while. I came from Wisconsin. I'm going to be heading back there this summer because summertime in Florida, not great.
It's too much for you.
It's it's just hot all the time.
At least it's quieter than New York, though. That's a nice trade.
It is a lot quieter than New York. Yeah.
When you were in New York, what did you live in one spot the whole time, or were you moving around the city?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely not one spot. I lived in Brooklyn, in Bed-Stuy, and in up north of there, and then I moved to Manhattan, and then I left because New York is a lot, and I am old. It works great in your 20s and 30s and like up to mid 40s for me. So
wait, what part of Bed-Stuy? What train were you off of?
I was on the JZ.
Okay,
on the north side up by yeah.
Do you know Fulton Street?
Fulton? Yeah, that was a stop.
Yeah, I was there's Fulton, which is the Fulton stop that I know is right when you get into Manhattan. But Fulton Street down Brooklyn, I'm right off there in Bed-Stuy. I'm off the C train, so I'm just.
Oh, you're south.
Yeah, I'd be south of that because going up towards the JZ is right near. Starts where it hits Bushwick, I think.
Yep.
But I've been here for like 5 years, and I am in my mid-20s, and I'm already like shit.
What's going on in the scene there? I mean, I was there. There was like, Rubelot parties and shit like that going down, and like you go to this like costume party, and it's in a just giant warehouse, and I counted people smoking at least 20 different things.
To be honest, I am kind of. I don't know. I'm very much. I like to stay in my house. And I basically I do this show, and then I edit the clips from this show, and then I book people for the show, and then I do it all over again. So there's not.
Why are you paying so much for rent?
Because here's the thing: my intro, I animated it, and it has New York City in it.
Fair. All right.
So it's like, oh, he must be cool. He's doing it in the city. But no, in full honesty, I went to school here as a drummer. I went to the New School, which is in I think it's technically Greenwich Village or West Village. And then I worked for CBS television going out of school. And then now I'm DJing, so that way I have more time to do this show, because when I worked at CBS, my first job there, I was what's called a page, which is like an intern. And it's like we're like. And here's what it really is: we're a fancier intern that gets paid less than the interns.
Wow.
That's if you want to know what it is, that's what it is.
All right.
But I couldn't I had to cancel the show for like a year because I was doing that job, and I graduated during the pandemic, so I kind of needed something consistent coming out to pay my bills. But now I DJ bars, so like after this show is done, I have my backpack full of stuff, and I'm gonna pack up, and I'm heading up to like 80th Street to this place called Jake's Dilemma, and I'm there till 3 a.m. So that's my night. My nightlife is I'm working is basically what it is. But
80th Street where?
It's like it's technically Amsterdam Avenue, but it's
not.
It's like
so Upper West Side.
Yeah, Upper West Side. It's like
okay.
I'm gonna take the C train all the way up to like 78th or 80th, and then I just have to walk a little west, I believe.
Nice.
I'll figure it out when I get there. But you said you're Green Bay, Wisconsin originally, right?
Green Bay originally, yeah.
Now, how is that growing up? What's a childhood in Green Bay like?
I'm not exactly sure because I've never done comparative childhoods.
That's a good point.
I don't know. It was the experience that I had. There's not a lot there. Mm-hmm. When I went into composing, I think I knew of 2 composers in Wisconsin that had that job. And then I moved to New York in an apartment with 4 composers.
So you drastically increased the number very quickly.
Oh yeah. That was it like the idea of composing wasn't really like it's like, oh, well, I do this for things, and I write some musicals for these schools or whatever, and then you meet people who are just busting it every day, and I'm like, oh, this is what it looks like now. This is what real competition is.
Yeah.
Right.
And because you were it was like a kind of farmland where you lived, right? Because your father it was into showing tractors, correct?
Oh yeah, he's still into tractors.
Really? So like you always had like a garage just like full of tractors.
He still has a garage full of tractors. I've been on him to try to sell those forever because what are you gonna do?
Was anyone in your family, a musician and specifically a composer?
No. Well, wait a minute. Not that I know of. Not that I ever met.
So you were the.
There's rumors like back in the history of people who have done things musically. So
Okay. What did your parents do? I mean, besides showing tractors, what did your parents do?
Yeah, my dad worked at a paper mill for like 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my mom was, I don't know. She worked for schools and banks and various things. There's no entertainment anywhere. There's no entertainment anywhere around my history. So
then, how in an area like that, how did you get into music, and what was the first instrument that you learned?
Geez, I don't know. I mean, we had a piano in the house from when I was small, so it probably was that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then how old were you when you started really getting into music, and when did you start composing?
Composing and getting into music, I don't know, weirdly different. Because like through high school, I was in high school, college, and after college, I was in cover bands.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my job.
Okay.
Most of the time. I've always been writing music, but prior to the internet, wasn't a lot of places to stick it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I do what I do. I'm not as big as anyone and who has recording deals. I didn't care about recording deals. I just like making music. So
when did you start producing music on, in a DAW on a computer? That's something you could do all by yourself.
Probably the early 1990s, 1992 to 1994. I think the software was getting close that you could do it on a computer and you didn't have to have like a dedicated hardware sequencer.
Mm-hmm.
and all that outboard equipment in order to put things together.
What software were you using?
I don't remember.
I wish I was like, Nardwar. Oh, he's
No?
he's an interviewer on YouTube, and he's the kind of person who would be like, you were using so and so on a so and so computer. I wish I was at that level, and I could just recite it straight to you. Be like, I actually know what it was.
Yeah, I remember like you could go into like Best Buy and they would have like a box that would have like a MIDI interface thing that would plug into the back of your computer, and then you could record the MIDI things and then play. I mean, they could not do audio. Computers were too slow to do audio. You're talking like the average size of a hard drive was 1/3 the size of an audio CD. So you couldn't. Yeah, there was just there was no way to do it that way.
You probably had like 200 megabytes or something on a hard drive back in that. I mean, if that, even, honestly.
Right. So you'd record in the MIDI, and then you could edit the MIDI, and then you could play it back, and then the hardware in your keyboard, then you would record that into like a different device, that like a tape, or they had dedicated digital recorders. So.
And so you were doing this since it's the early 1990s. That's pretty early. That's like, I mean, if the internet existed, that's very, very early for the internet's life. So were you producing all of this music, and then for a while, were you just sitting on it? Were you releasing it physically, like giving it to people? What were you doing?
Oh yeah, I would make like stacks of 50 copies and hand it to friends and family, and remember CDs? Oh man.
Honestly,
I hear this.
I generally, sometimes stuff will come out, and I try to be open-minded. But one of the things where I was incredibly open-minded was when CDs stopped. That's one thing. I hate CDs. I'm going to be honest. They're the worst. They carry nothing. You have to have 1,000 of them. That's terrible. I'd rather I'm not the kind of person like when someone will say like, oh, here's this new thing. I'm always open-minded, but I'm kind of wary of it usually. Yeah. But as soon as they were like, we're getting rid of CD disk drives on computers, I was like, thank fucking God. Because you have to have these
Oh, Apple caught so much shit for that though, right?
And for like a week, I remember when I was going to get a computer around that time, I was switching off of an iMac from 2008 that had 2 gigabytes of RAM, which is like, the fact that that's only 15 years ago is insane to me, because 2 gigabytes of RAM, I don't think you could watch porn with 2 gigabytes of RAM.
Hey, you just have to change your idea of what porn is.
Well, I know you're...
I'm just saying that we were very clever back in the day with very limited amounts of data.
And your music wasn't in all of it.
It was not. It is in enough porn today. It is. That's
got to be... that's got to ruin the vibe. When you hear it, you go like, is that me? Because you just distract yourself.
I've come across it a couple of times. It turns out it's fine. Yeah.
You're just like,
if the lighting is good, I'm fine.
If the lighting is good. That's a good way to put it. But yeah, so you're producing all this music. Was it kind of that stock music, background music type that you're known for now, or was it more like singles types of songs?
It was all utility music sorts of things. I used to play live keyboards for improv comedian troupe, and it's great when I'm there, but it's not great when I'm not there and I can't play every show. And so I would like record these stereotypical things. It's like, okay, we want to do some country music stuff. So I give them like 3 country music tracks that they could legally use and not get sued over. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then those tracks started getting shared around to various improvisational troupes around the country. And that was like my first like sort of nationwide distribution stuff.
So at that time, were you making all of your money from music, or were you working any odd jobs?
Oh, I was making money from the bands I was in.
Okay. So you were able to live completely off of music in some sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what ended up happening, because I know you ended up going to college for music education. So how did you decide you're playing in these bands, you're composing music. was there ever a thought that I want to go for music composition, music performance, or is it just like I see more of a career being able to teach, so that's what I'm going for?
I oh boy, you're saying these things like I had a plan with my life, and that is not how anything works. I mean, I got into music education because it was an easy major for me to transition to because I didn't want to do electrical engineering anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And like I didn't really think it through because I don't really like children or teaching.
Sounds like a perfect fit.
But I did learn a lot.
So you like being the student part of the education.
I did learn a lot. I learned how to deal with a lot of instruments. I learned how to it was pretty cool. But yeah, to say that my life had or that my life has a plan now, it's just wrong.
Really?
It's like, well, when something goes well, we'll lean into it, and then, you know, other things will happen. That's fine.
What was your experience in college like? Were you staying at home working on your music most of the time? Were you going out and smoking one of the 20 things that people were doing?
Oh God, no. There was no smoking or drinking. It was just work.
Really?
It was just work. Yeah.
And is that
and an occasional D&D game?
I've played D&D once, and I gotta say it's fun. It takes like 1,000 hours. And you smell like shit after, but you know what? It's a lot of fun.
And it's all about the people.
Yeah, my cousins are from Texas, and when they come up, we always play D&D. We started recently, and I gotta say, it's a good time. I don't really understand it. They're like, well, this is the this, and this is the this, and you did that, which means it's this. I just follow along, and I say dumb things the whole time, and make jokes, and then there you go.
I believe you. No, you figured it out.
Exactly.
That's how it goes.
They said if you're basically if you're into it is what they told me. Like if you're into it, that's all you got to be. You just have to be like involved in it.
Yep.
Was there ever a time? Because I know like in Compotech, it has this big portion is obviously the stock music, but then something I noticed when I was a lot younger is I was like, there's logarithmic graph paper on here. And I knew nothing. A lot of graph paper. I was like, what? So was there ever a time where you were considering math? I know you said you don't really like kids or teaching, but was there ever a time where you're thinking like, I might be a math teacher? How'd you get involved in that?
Oh, well, that comes back to Dungeons and Dragons because I was, I don't know, I was working on some campaign or another back in, the mid-late 90s, and I'd run out of graph paper.
So you're just like, I'm making myself.
Well, I know how to program. It's just lines on a piece of paper. I do have a printer. I'll just whip up a program that does that and then throw it up on my website because I figure other people would like that. Oh yeah, other people like that. I'm like my early money that allowed me to do most of the things that I do now came from graph paper people.
So were you like...
I think I still might be the #1 graph paper site on the internet if you Google for graph paper. I don't know if people Google anymore.
How are you making money? So were you like, would people contract you to make them graph paper, or were they just downloading it and donating? Just like the music?
It was honestly, it was ads.
Really?
You put some Google ads up like way back in the day, and you get a couple million people a month, and it'll make rent and a little more.
Google ads, I remember back in the day, they used to make like, I don't know, because I'm not really that monetized now. I mean, I'm monetized, but I'm not making nothing. But I remember back in the day, my friend had this YouTube account where he basically subscribed to as many people as possible because he wanted to have the like record of subscribing to the most amount of people. We're like, 9 or 10. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and I'll get more subscribers because what I'll do is I'll upload sound effects from iLife 08 at the time, which came with my iMac. That's how I had them.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the discs? And I think it would have GarageBand, iMovie, and then the iWeb, I think was the one.
Yeah, yeah.
And I uploaded like basically every sound effect from iMovie to a YouTube channel whose name, it's gone. I deleted it for this purpose. I don't want to say the name because I don't want Google coming after me. This is all a joke. This is not true. But I uploaded all these sound effects from iMovie that I did not own in any sense.
No.
And YouTube sent me an email and they're like, "Hi, would you like to put ads on this?" And I said, they gave me like it was like a breakout window. It wasn't like the whole process now. And it said, "Describe your ownership of the content." Mm-hmm. And I wrote, and I literally wrote this on every single request. "I do not own this. This is from iLife08. I believe it is owned by Apple." And I got approved. And when I was like,
early YouTube, you were so good.
I made like $2,500 when I was like 11 years old off of stuff that I did not own. Again, it's a joke. But once I realized, because I was like 10, I was like, oh, it's okay, it's not illegal. I told them, but then after I kind of realized it and I deleted it. But you know what? I had a guinea pig and he had a tumor, and I paid for his surgery with iLife08. So thank you to Steve Jobs for that. So then when did you start composing mostly like background stock music, and when did you start putting it up on the internet?
The background stock music thing, I don't know. So I was getting some traction, getting a couple of gigs doing movie soundtracks. Mm-hmm. And when somebody asks you if you can do a movie soundtrack, you say yes. And then you learn how to do movie soundtracks. And so I started working on that, and I started getting a lot of rejections. This piece doesn't work, this piece doesn't work, this piece doesn't work. And I'm like, oh, normally everyone's just really happy that they have everything. But now I actually have a really good director who is like saying, yeah, not matching the mood. I'm like, well, I mean, the piece of music was okay. So I'll just give that piece of music to everybody else so it doesn't feel like such a waste of my life to get rejection after rejection after rejection. So I started putting those up there. And then that's when people started going, oh, okay.
And it was always on the Incompetech website?
Yep.
I stutter myself trying to say that sometimes. Incompetech website. Yeah. I always mess it up. For my whole life, I thought it was like Incompetech. And I was like, what is Incompetech? So then what was the first time that after you uploading all of this music, you're like, this is good stuff. You just want people to hear it, even though it might not fit what I was working on. Yeah. When was the first time where you're like, I'm noticing like a big bump in traction, and people are really starting to use the stuff that I'm making?
Never happened.
You never had that like one moment?
It was such a slow burn. I mean, we're talking over the course of 15 years. And it's like, oh, interesting. Things going up. Interesting. There was never one just like moment. I never had like a America's Got Talent breakout thing where I went from unknown to super known. It was super smooth.
And you were always releasing it as Creative Commons?
As soon as Creative Commons came out, I started using it. Yeah.
What year was that?
After I started releasing music, I'll tell you that. I forget when though.
So how did you, before Creative Commons existed, how were you trying to protect your rights, your ownership? Did you say anything, or did you just kind of put it up?
I'm not trying to protect my rights or ownership of anything.
But in the sense that there was nothing making sure that people had to credit you. You didn't care, that was not a problem for you.
No.
Why do you think that is? Because I know there's a lot of people that are so hyper. No, it's for real. Like there's so many people.
Oh, you're not wrong.
No, there are people who like won't show their friends, won't show people they meet their music for advice because they're like, nah, man, what if he takes the vibe? Like he's just gonna he's gonna steal it. So why do you think it is that you are so open to the idea of people just being able to use it freely?
Know. I think the people who think that, oh, my soul is going to get taken, my vibe is going to get taken, they probably haven't written a lot of music, maybe. And they're like, look at all the time and effort I put into this one. Isn't it precious? And it's like, well, sure. not great, but it's fine. People overvalue their own work, and I try to be very mindful to not overvalue mine.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I undervalue it, and that's fine because nobody gets hurt.
Was there ever a time where that was at least a tiny bit of a concern, or as soon as you were releasing it, it was just like, I don't care, it's out in the open, whatever people want to do?
Oh yeah, and I mean, coming from a performer, anytime you can get one more person in the bar, you are a happier person.
That's going to be me in about 2 hours.
Yeah. Right, because you just want to share the thing that you have, and if people find value in it, that's great, and you just keep going, and just I don't know if that was a decent answer or if I'm going off the rails here.
No, it's perfect. And another thing I wanted to ask was about how, like, people have to credit you if they want to use it for free, or they can buy the license to just use the music, which is still so much cheaper than I think a lot of people would want to give away their music for.
Right.
So has there ever been a time where you heard your music in a really, really big budget thing where they wouldn't even spare that $30 and you're like, they're not crediting me, they're just flat out stealing this, and they especially shouldn't because they're not some small little Instagram account, they're a full film?
Yeah, that's happened a few times.
Do you want to say any names or no?
there's local auto ship dealers that have used my stuff without doing things like, it's fine, I don't care. But then there was a political candidate, and I was at somebody's house watching television and was like, wait a minute. I would have seen like that request come through for licensing. So like emailed them saying, hey, thanks for using my music. What's going on?
And what do they say?
They're like, you're not basically you're delusional, but like, no. We use this like super high-end advertising agency out of Philadelphia, and like they're the best, and you're wrong. Like we got rights to this.
A super high-end agency that doesn't want to spare $30.
So then I called the super high-end agency and said, hey, what's going on with this? And they're like, okay, let me get back to you. I got a call the next day, and they offered me like 10 times my asking price for normal licensing to just, can we not talk about this? It's fine, right?
Now, from what I've seen specifically in the documentary about you, this is my prediction. Did you just take the $30 or did you take the offer?
I took the money.
Okay, good. That makes sense.
I took the money.
Because I was worried. I was like, please tell me you took that money. I mean, how big of a political candidate are we talking?
U.S. Senate.
Damn. This isn't no local.
It's not.
mayor.
Well, I mean, it's U.S. Senate, so it's statewide. So,
but it's still, they should. This big brand agency should know what they're doing.
Oh, they did know what they were doing, and they got me more money than I asked for.
There you go. So it worked out in the end.
Yeah.
When was the first?
That's the only one I think I actually went after, because I'm like, wait a minute.
What's your favorite that you've heard your music in? What production?
Favorite production I've heard my music in? Gosh, there's just a lot of online videos, like the Minecraft videos, and
I've seen. You have no idea. I mean, actually, you have a perfect idea. It's your music, but I've seen. Yeah, I'm like, you don't fucking know what you're talking about. No, I've heard your music in I think every single Minecraft and Fortnite video.
Yeah.
In my entire life.
Yeah, I think they use it in Critical Role, the D&D show. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a couple of cool places where I'm like, oh yeah,
so that
I did a thing.
So your confidence in your decision to give it away has never wavered. You never go, man, at this circumstance, I wish I kind of charged for it.
No, absolutely not. There's no way it could have gotten the breadth that it's gotten.
Yes. Do you think that there's the fact that it's so easily accessible and has been able to, it's so easily usable for everyone, high budget, low budget. Do you think that outweighs any amount of income that you could have made on a smaller scale if you were charging individually?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yes. How do I know that? I haven't a clue. Like, I'm basing this on zero data.
So it makes sense that you're gonna hear it in so many more places. I mean, obviously, what is it? Spinning Monkeys has like 30 million uses on TikTok, which is absolutely
30 million uses, over 200 billion impressions.
It's actually like ridiculous. Like like a billion is. I mean, honestly, 30 million of anything is ridiculous. A billion is ridiculous. 200 billion. It's almost you can't understand it. Actually, you really can't understand it.
It is a level of fame that is really kind of crazy. Like sometimes I'll go online and I'll be talking to like random people from Morocco and Libya, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I know that song. You're the guy. You're great. That's cool." I'm like, "Really?" Like, yeah.
How long does it take you to
barely big in China for weird reasons too?
That's surprising because social media is fairly limited there.
Yeah.
Well, Facebook is banned, but Incompetech is allowed.
Incompetech is allowed. Yeah.
How long does it take from when you're going? Because you have over like 2,500 credits on IMDb as compositions. Yeah. How long does it take you from start to finish composing a song? And do you start like, I'm writing out just the music, I'm just writing, and then you produce it, or is it kind of a cross hatching as you work on it? Oh
yeah, when you're doing music for video, you produce as you go.
Okay.
You can't be like, all right, we got this, beautiful horn line. It's like, well, but there's somebody talking and now I can't comprehend them.
Yeah.
It's like you have to do it, all the mixing and all the thing as you go. I used to quote for like moderate projects, we could do about 1 completed hour of music, or 1 completed minute per hour.
Okay.
So if you're coming to me with it's like, okay, we got a 28 episode cartoon series, 22 minutes a piece, that kind of thing.
Do you ever go back and listen to your backlog of songs, or is it you just kind of want to keep moving forward, and the more you listen back, you might end up not liking it, and then it slows you down and that kind of a thing?
I don't listen back for nostalgia's sake. Because there isn't a lot of nostalgia. Some of that stuff just keeps coming up every day, just going through my life.
Do you work
watching
YouTube? Do you work every single day? Are you constantly composing, or do you kind of go in bouts where you're big leaps? I'm working constantly, and then I might, take a week or two off.
Yeah, I used to work when I was in New York. I worked all the time.
So that was like 24/7, just constant.
That was 16 hours a day for far too many years. I have since definitely slowed down. And I'm looking at, because the problems are different today than they used to be. It used to be, back in the early YouTube days, nobody gave away their music. Nobody did it. And so I am solving this problem. So I really try to find interesting problems that need to be solved. And that one just happened to be solved with music. I'm also got some people doing software development. I created a calculator. I know, very exciting.
I love it. It's on the website.
It is on the website, and if you have an iPad, you should get it because it doesn't have ads. It doesn't cost money, and it doesn't track anything. It's just a calculator that they should have given you.
So
when they made the thing.
More so than specifically composing music, you think your overarching kind of philosophy for everything is I want to make as much free and easy to access things in all different genres. So to change the idea from everything being so, I hate this term, but like gate kept. Mm-hmm. Is that you think that's your kind of overall mission statement in a way?
Yeah, I think you're close there. Yeah.
What other projects have you considered working on, or are you working on that kind of go down that same path?
I am working on we're working on some iOS video games, which because there are just these, I don't know, cesspools, can we call them cesspools, of iOS developers who just do like mean things and like too many ads, very simple games, but they do spend a lot of money promoting them, and so they get a lot of money there. And I'm just trying to make this like, well, this game concept isn't copyrightable. We'll just take it, make it better, mm-hmm. release it, and then hopefully people can still get the joy of playing the game without giving money to the low effort jerk who basically, put together this tutorial with another tutorial that did, how to monetize and like, yeah, no, I hate the inefficiencies in the world, and those are the things that I gun for.
So in a way, you're kind of trying to be like the opposite of Raid Shadow Legends.
Let's assume I played that, but yeah.
Do you know? Wait, have you heard of Raid Shadow Legends?
I don't know it.
See, it's kind of like it's like a meme that every YouTuber at this point has a sponsorship with Raid Shadow Legends, and
oh god,
it's one of those, and it's like. It's one of those games where, I mean, I've just from what I've seen, I can't say, I might be totally wrong. It's just from what I've heard. I've heard the game is actually not bad, but it's one of those where like you play for 7 minutes and there's 30 different types of money. They have like the money you earn.
Yes, and then the deliberately obfuscated like, where does this money? Oh God, I hate that.
Yeah, I can't stand when I play a game and it's like, well, you have to use gems for this, but gold for this, but then you got to use super diamonds, and then you got to watch. It's like, you know what it is? It's like someone just. It's not a real business at that point. You're just a scam. You are just scamming people with like a mildly fun concept that's been done before, but now since it's mobile, you have like this right to scam people.
Oh, God, you're making me very uncomfortable. Yes, I want to put all of those people out of business.
I love that.
All of them.
Watch what I'm gonna be like
one by one, and it turns out it's very hard to do.
That is true. And now look, I'm gonna look like a sellout. Watch, because I've never had a sponsor on this show, and my first sponsor will be like Raid Shadow Legends, and I'll be like, that seems like a nice amount of money.
I can hire you. You can rep one of my websites.
Yeah. Well, I played the game, and I decided it's actually not that bad, and I don't stand by my old words.
Here's my 20-minute introduction into currencies.
Exactly.
Once you understand them.
Once you understand the 40 types of yen that are in this video game, then we'll be good. Well, Kevin, we're almost out of time. Before I let you go, though, I went on Reddit and I let people on a few subreddits know that you were coming on the show. If you don't mind, can I read you some questions from them?
Absolutely. Let me know what subreddits you're on, because I didn't see any questions coming.
I think this was on songwriting and songwriters.
I don't hang out there.
I found out today. Well, it's actually good because someone commented, they're like, he's a composer, not a songwriter. And my comment, I just replied with L take. And then everyone went down and just bashed this guy. And they're like, oh, because you can write lyrics but not a song? Shut up, gatekeeper, all this shit. But besides him, besides
all
these,
right.
singer-songwriter types, we got some questions. So this first one is from Viewmaster, who says, "Are you worried that AI will replace background and other royalty-free music?"
I'm not worried about it. I'm looking forward to it. I have been working with both Google and Stability, giving them like my all of my catalog plus all the stems plus the project files so that they can take it apart and use it in their training data.
Oh, so they'll be like you'll be able to generate your own music.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. Now, is that going to be, I mean, I don't know how much you can say, but is that something that you'll be able to release on your website? Like, if this is specifically my like machine learned program, this is based on me, or is it just going into theirs?
No, it's going into the giant ball with Bach and Chopin and Wagner and all those guys. However much they can get from Universal or Warner, probably none.
Gotcha. Okay, so this next one comes from Cephala Podcasting. I hate the word podcast.
Yes!
Got some work.
Cephalopods, go!
Who says, when writing for specific genres / musical traditions, how do you go about researching or preparing?
Big dives into YouTube. Big dives into YouTube. If I'm supposed to be doing something that's like vaguely Vietnamese, just 6-8 hours a day, just put it on in the background, listen. Yeah, just YouTube playlists. Do I get poisoned by the wrong things occasionally? Probably, but that's how I do it.
Awesome. So do you if you're going in if you're specifically listening to a bunch of like Vietnamese music, are you then going to try to get as much out of that because it's ingrained in that moment in time? So you're going to say like, I'm going to write 20 songs that are of this style, so I don't just get one piece of music out of that work.
Oh, usually it would be because I was commissioned to do something very specific for like a movie. We have this character who grew up in this area. We need, appropriate themes and stuff.
Gotcha.
It would be for stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this last one comes from Hospital Pretend 9276, who says, I think you'll like this one, pet peeve song tropes.
Again, I'm not a songwriter. I'm really terrible about it. And all of my friends who sing have forbidden me from writing music for voice because I'm just terrible. I'm just no good at it. And I don't really care about it. So that's great. Pet peeve about songs. I don't know. Like almost everything you hear these days is pretty good. If 10, 20 years ago, you would be much more likely to come across something that doesn't sound good in a production or something. But everything today is sounding a lot better. No real pet peeves.
Well, look at that. See, that's a very positive way to go out.
Yeah.
It's not, everything sucks. It sucks. I hate it. Goodbye.
Songwriting. I don't really understand it, so I can't have a.
Me neither, but I can play drums to songs sometimes. So
there you go. Can you sing along as well? We'll have to work on that.
Exactly. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate
Absolutely.
it. Before I let you go, anything you want to plug? Anything you want to say?
Absolutely not. It's been a great time. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Would you mind real quick just sticking around for 1 second after we go off?
Sure can.
Perfect. Thank you to everyone who watched. We're going to be live next week. It's at a weird time because the person is in Britain, which is a first for us. So check out my Instagram. It'll have the time when I know what it is. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you later.